Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, Trinadapi Sunichena Taroriva Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Hare Nama Eva Kivalam Kalo Nastyeva Gatir Anyata. For preparation of today's lecture, I have broken it into two sections. The first section are scriptural quotes which teaches us about the importance of Guru, spiritual master. Then the second part is an excerpt from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which points out what happens if you don't follow a spiritual master. So in ISKCON, every morning, they begin their worship by offering 8 prayers to the spiritual master, Guru Bhashtakam. In the 7th stanza, we find this prayer. Sakshad Dharitvena Samasta Shastraya Uktastata Bhavyata Eva Sadbihi Kintu Praboya Priya Eva Tasya Vande Guru Sri Charanaravindam. So this line, Vande Guru Sri Charanaravindam, everybody can say? So that is repeated at the end of each of the 8 stanzas. So this verse is translated. The spiritual master is to be honored as much as the Supreme Lord, because he is the most confidential servitor of the Lord. So here we have in this temple, Srila Prabhupada as our Acharya. He is to be honored as much as we honor Krishna. Not because he's God, that's not the point. He is the most confidential servant of God. Now, is that some empty claim? No. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, after Sarvadhaman Parityajya, after that, there's a few more statements after Krishna gives his ultimatum to Arjuna to surrender. He says that anyone who preaches this message of Bhagavad Gita, there is no servant more dear to me than that person. So it's on that basis that we worship Srila Prabhupada. Not because he has some mystic power, or he has a big beard, or he looks like a guru. No. It's based on what does the Shastra say. One who preaches the message of, and our Srila Prabhupada preached Bhagavad Gita all over the world. And it is, his Bhagavad Gita is translated in, practically speaking, every single language. Not just for the Hindus. Every culture has now, in every language, has Bhagavad Gita, including Swahili. Why? Because Bhagavad Gita is meant for everyone. Black, white, green, red, Republican, Democrat, young, old, doesn't matter. Bhagavad Gita is for everyone. Then it says, this is acknowledged. What's acknowledged? That Srila Prabhupada is to be honored as much as the Supreme Lord, and it is followed by all authorities. Therefore, I offer my humble obeisances unto my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. Everybody, Vande Guru Sri Charanada Vindam. Vande Guru Sri Charanada Vindam. Now the next verse, the last verse of this Gurvashtakam prayer, gives us the secret of the science of success in spiritual life. No charge, it's free. But here is the secret of success. Yasya prasadad bhagavat prasado yasya prasadan nagati kutopi dayan stuvang stasya yashastri sanyang vande guru sri charanara vindam. Everybody, vande, vande. Now, who wants Krishna's Ashirvad? Raise your hand. Here's how to get it. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the benediction of Krishna. That's how you get Krishna's mercy. Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. So, when you're making decisions, when you're making plans, keep in mind, what is the instruction of Srila Prabhupada? That is how you know you will be successful in your endeavors. Is my decision corroborated by the teachings of Srila Prabhupada? Therefore, I should always remember and praise the spiritual master. Yes, that's why we glorify Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. At least 3 times a day, morning, noon, in the sandhyas. In the morning when it's not night, when it's not day, that time. In the noon and in the evening, when it's not day and it's not night, the sandhya periods. 3 times a day. Vande Guru Sri Charanara Vindam. Vande Guru Sri. Now the next quote is spoken by Krishna himself in the Srimad Bhagavatam. In the 11th canto, we find the Uddhava Gita. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is speaking to Arjuna. In the Uddhava Gita, Krishna is speaking and answering the questions of his devotee Uddhava. If you read that Uddhava Gita, which is many chapters, much of it correlates and corresponds to Bhagavad Gita. A little more esoteric, but there are several chapters that mirror the Bhagavad Gita. So one of those instructions, this is Krishna. So please repeat, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. So this is what Krishna says. One should know the Acharya, Kakaniji. Is Prabhupada the Acharya of this temple? Is that why he's sitting there? Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure. He's not just a decoration, is he? He's the Acharya of this temple. Is it in the bylaws? So he's the Acharya of this temple. Thank you. One should know the Acharya as myself and never disrespect him in any way. One should not envy him, thinking him to be an ordinary man. In other words, Donald Trump, he's an ordinary man. You want to disrespect him? You have my blessings. He's an ordinary man. Okay? But Srila Prabhupada is not an ordinary man. The last line. Please repeat. Sarva Deva Mayo Guru. Again, who's speaking this verse? That's important. What is the meaning of Sarva Deva Mayo Guru? He is the representative of all the Devatas. Astounding. Who said that? Anybody doubt Krishna? Anybody want to fight Krishna and argue with him? So, Srila Prabhupada is the representative of all the Devatas. You will read in the Vedas that there are 33 million, whatever it is, but those are administrative demigods. There's much more demigods than that, residents of the heavenly planets. So, there's only 365 days of the year. If you wanted to worship all the demigods, there's not enough day in the year to worship them. But that's all right. Just worship Srila Prabhupada. He's a representative of, just like you've seen that picture they have sometimes, a cow. And they have a picture, we have it on our altar. All the Devatas are in the body of a cow, right? That's why we don't kill cows. Because they're holy. They represent all the Devatas. In America, they think this expression, holy cow, is a joke. Oh, holy. No, it's not. It actually means the cow is holy. Why? First of all, cow gives you the miracle food, milk. And all the demigods are represented in the body of the cow. Now, in that same 11th canto, but this is not by Krishna. This verse is spoken by one of the sons of Rishabhadev. Rishabhadev was an incarnation of Krishna, and he had 100 sons headed by Bharat. The Bharat that took birth as Bharat, then he became a deer, and then became Jada Bharat, and went back to Godhead. So that's his eldest son. But he had 99 other sons. So some of them became rulers of different planets, but 9 of those 100 sons became very elevated mystic sages called the Nava Yogendras. Nava Yogendras. So they were once questioned by Maharaj Nimi, and each of them took a turn answering the king's questions. So that's the beginning portion, the 11th canto, several chapters, 4 or 5 chapters of the Nava-Yogendras answering the questions of Maharaj Nimi. So one of those says, so one of the Nava-Yogendras, my dear king, one has to accept the spiritual master not only as spiritual master, but as representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and Supersoul. The key word is representative. Again, he's not God. He's representative of God. So in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's explained. Currently, in our conditioned state, we cannot see Krishna in the heart. We don't have that capability. Krishna is there, but we can't see. So, the Chaitanya Charitamrita explains, since it's not possible to visualize the Supersoul for most people, the Supersoul is represented by the spiritual master. If you follow the instructions of the spiritual master, that's as good as taking instruction from Krishna in the heart. Again, in the Uddhava Gita, at some point, Uddhava says this to Krishna: my Lord, transcendental poets and experts in spiritual science cannot fully express their indebtedness to you. even if they were endowed with the prolonged lifetime of Brahma. For you appear in two features, externally as the Acharya, and internally as the Supersoul, to deliver the embodied living being, directing him or her how to come to you. That is the function of the spiritual master. Same function as Supersoul. The Supersoul's ultimate function in the heart of the living being is to guide him back home, back to Godhead. That's all Supersoul. Now, if you're not interested in going back to Godhead, then that same Supersoul will guide you how to remain in this material world. But the real ultimate function of the Supersoul is to guide you back to Godhead, because that Supersoul has accompanied you from the beginning. When you left the spiritual world and entered the material world, Krishna did not abandon you. In the Christian theology, there's a parallel explanation that Adam and Eve were kicked out of the paradise because they disobeyed God. But in the description of the Bible, God does not accompany Adam and Eve. They're on their own. But in the Vedic description, we were also in the Garden of Eden, and we left, but Krishna accompanied us. And how does he accompany you? Supersoul. This is also mentioned in the 4th canto of Bhagavatam, in the story of King Puranjana. That's another rather large section, many chapters. So it's also explained there that as soon as we leave the kingdom of God and enter the material world, immediately Krishna accompanies us. Now, someone might ask the question, what happens to Supersoul when we go back to Godhead? He's not needed in the kingdom of God. Because in the kingdom of God, who do you see? There's no need of Supersoul. So where does Supersoul go? Into the Brahma Jyoti. The Supersoul enters because his job is done. He has delivered you back to Godhead. So, you have two gurus, Chaitya Guru and external Guru. Krishna is Chaitya Guru, spiritual master in the heart, and for all intents and purposes, Srila Prabhupada is our external Guru. Now this next verse, everyone should know it because it's in your Bhagavad Gita. Yes, I like to say your Bhagavad Gita. You should be proud that Bhagavad Gita comes from what country? Not China. Everything else we get from China. But Bhagavad Gita is from India. If you know this verse, recite along. Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshanaha. Krishna says to Arjuna, just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively. That's very important. Submissive inquiry. And render service. Both have to be there. Humility and service. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. You're looking at the truth, not me. When you look at the altar, you're seeing the ultimate truth. Radha Krishna, ultimate truth. And you notice Prabhupada's temples He established many Radha Krishna temples. Why? Because Prabhupada is establishing absolute truth. Radha Krishna temples. Not just in India, America, Australia, all over the world. We have, Africa has, yes, Africa has Radha and Krishna. What's that? Russia. Yes, we got to pray for that. Because did you know what happened? Putin disallowed the one religious sect. What is that? Was just recent, about a month or two ago. Putin, there's one religion, one Christian religion, Jehovah's Witness. You're not allowed to be a Jehovah's Witness in Russia. So we don't know about this. Trump loves this guy. That's his guru. But we have to be careful because he could one day say, no more Hare Krishna, no more Hindu. So we'll have to fight that. It's not funny. This guy's a demon. He couldn't do that. No more Hare Krishna. So, okay, now the next one is from the Upanishads. Tad Vijnanathang sa gurum eva bigachet samatpani shrotriyang brahmanishtam. In order to learn transcendental science, one must approach a bona fide spiritual master in disciplic succession who is fixed in the absolute truth. This is important. Again, spiritual master is not seen. It's not that, oh, he looks like a guru. No. Looks can be deceiving. You have to find that spiritual master who's fixed in the absolute truth. In other words, he walks the walk and talks the talk. He practices what he's preaching. As Prabhupada's disciple, I can say, yes, I saw that. That Srila Prabhupada not only knew the Vedic scriptures, not only taught to his disciples, but he himself practiced. When we would sometimes say to Prabhupada, let us put you up in a fancy 5-star hotel, Prabhupada said, no, I want to be in the temple with my disciples. And in so many other ways, Prabhupada also got up early in the morning, worshiped the deities, chanted japa. Prabhupada, wasn't that Prabhupada told us, oh, you chant Hare Krishna, I'm going to smoke bidis. No. Prabhupada himself also chanted 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra every day. Prabhupada was also, everything he told his disciples to do, he was teaching by example. That's the meaning of the word acharya. He taught by example. All right, let's find some more quotes. This is one of my favorite, because this verse is what gives me encouragement. Yasya deve para bhaktir yata deve tata gurau tasyaite kathita hiyarta prakashante mahatmanaha. The meaning of this verse, if you want to know for yourself, am I understanding the Vedic scriptures properly? Here's the test. This verse from the Upanishad says that if you have equal faith in Krishna and in the spiritual master, then whatever you read, you will have the proper understanding. We're not talking about book knowledge. We're talking about comprehension, understanding. So, I have to have equal faith. Is Krishna God? That's the question I have to ask myself. Do I factually, without a shadow of a doubt, accept that Krishna is God? If you check yes, go to step 2. Do you have equal faith that Srila Prabhupada is the bona fide Acharya. If you check off 1 and 2, then whatever you're reading, you will understand properly. That is the meaning of this Upanishad verse. I love this verse. All I have to do is have full faith in Krishna, full faith in my spiritual master. I'm good to go. This next one is very famous. You all know it from the Gautamiya Tantra. If you know it, please chant along with me. Om Ajnana Timrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militang Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master, who, with the torchlight of knowledge, has opened my eyes, which were blinded by the darkness of ignorance. That darkness of ignorance, one meaning of that darkness of ignorance is that I'm still attracted, I'm still influenced by the material energy. As long as I am attracted to enjoying the material energy, to that degree, I'm in the darkness of ignorance. Because spiritual life means, you know this verse, Tamasima Jyotir Gama, come out of the darkness, go to the light. The light is the Vedic knowledge. The darkness, material sense gratification. The more I am absorbed in material life, to that degree, I am absorbed in the darkness of ignorance. But what does the spiritual master? With the torchlight of knowledge. Prabhupada's main business was translating the essential Vedic scriptures so that his followers and followers in the future would have Vedic knowledge. They would have the light, the torchlight of Vedic knowledge. Prabhupada would get up, Sri Sri Radharaman Bhagavan Ki Jai. Prabhupada would get up 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning and begin translating Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. That's what he would do when there would be no disturbance. Because the disciples would get up 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and Mangal Artik was 4:30. But 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, those couple of hours, Prabhupada was transcribing every day like that. Why was he doing this? So that he would become a famous author? No. He was doing this so that we would get the benefit of this Vedic knowledge. Okay? This next verse is very, very famous in the Mahabharata. Tarako pratishta srutayo vibina nasa vrashir yasya matang nabinnam dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayang mahajano yena gata sapanta. Yudhishthir says, dry arguments, inconclusive. We see it every day on the television. The conservative guy talks, blah, 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 blah. Then the liberal guy talks, blah, 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 blah. And it goes on day after day after day, no conclusion. Right? Comey gave his testimony, then right away Trump said he's telling a lie. Welcome to the world of politics. I'm a liar, you're a liar. So dry arguments, inconclusive. One is not considered a Muni unless he comes up with his own individual slant of philosophy on the absolute truth, his own particular style. Simply by studying the Vedas, one cannot come to the right path by which religious principles are understood. Therefore, Yudhishthira's conclusion is, where will you really find the real religious principles? You'll find it hidden in the heart of an unadulterated, self-realized person. Therefore, we follow the Mahajans, the great self-realized authorities who have come in the past, such as Shukadeva Goswami. We could say in the case Arjuna. You could say Prahlad Maharaj, Bali Maharaj, Janaka Maharaj, Narada Muni. Shambhu himself is considered one of the Mahajans. Kapila Dev, the four Kumaras, Yamaraj. In my Sunday class here for the past 2 months, we've been talking about Yamaraj and his assistants, the Yamadutas. The Yamadutas know so much Vedic knowledge, and they're Yamadutas. But they would give a better class than me, what they know. The final 2 verses are from Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna, in Bhagavad Gita, he's confused, he's bewildered, he has doubts, he's hesitant, he doesn't want to fight. But then he says to Krishna, Karapanya dosho pahata swabhava prichami twang dharma samudacheta yat sreyasyan nishchitang bruhitang me shishyastehang shadimang twang prapanam nahi praprashyami mamapanudyad yachchokam uchchoshinam indriyanam avapya bhumav asapatnam riddhang rajang suranam apichadipatyam. So this right here is the whole turning point of Bhagavad Gita. Up until this point, Arjuna is arguing with Krishna, giving so many seemingly valid reasons, moral justification why he doesn't want to fight the battle. But because he's on the mental platform, and because up until this moment he has not accepted a guru, he doesn't have a conclusion. He's on the mental plane. He thinks this is good, no, this is bad. No, that's good, this is bad. He's on the chariot of the mind. Sometimes, I remember one time when before I was a devotee, I was driving a taxi cab and the roads were icy. And so I had to stop at a traffic light. And because the roads were icy, my car went like this. I never prayed so hard in my life. That's the chariot of the mind. Spinning, 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 spinning. Because you can't control it. Right? You already stepped on the brake. The car's... So, that's Arjuna. His mind is spinning. But at this point in Bhagavad Gita, what does he say? The turning point. Now I am confused about my duty and have lost all composure because of miserly weakness. In this condition, I am asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. Now I am your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. So this is the point where the relationship between Krishna and Arjuna changes. Up until this point, they're equals, they're friends. But by this statement, Arjuna is telling Krishna, no more friend. Now you be my guru. You instruct me. I am being your disciple. So this is the mood also with spiritual master. Spiritual master and disciple are not equal. If that's the case, why are you wasting your time? No, you approach someone who you can surrender to. So this should be the mood of any disciple. And I will say it now to my spiritual master. My dear Srila Prabhupada, I am confused about my duty. I have lost all composure because of miserly weakness. I am asking you to tell me what is best for me. Now I am your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. That's the mood I should have when I read Prabhupada's books. Then the knowledge will go right in me, because there won't be any filters. He says next, I can find no means to drive away this grief which is drying up my senses. I will not be able to dispel it, even if I win a prosperous, unrivaled kingdom on earth with sovereignty like that of the demigods. So, that's the end of part 1. Everybody chant the Maha Mantra. All right, so this last part is an excerpt from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So just to give some background, Lord Chaitanya had 2 very powerful soldiers in his Sankirtan army. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita is described that there's a Chaitanya tree. It's a figurative analogy. So Lord Chaitanya was the root and the seed of the tree, and the 2 big branches of his tree, Nityananda and Advaita. So those were the 2 big branches of this Chaitanya tree. So this excerpt is about Advaita Acharya and his followers, which I think might be very instructive for our purposes here, which is why I selected it. Here's the main event, Kakaniji. Knowing your intentions. You're going to love what Prabhupada says. You're going to give me a big hug. So, Krishnadas Kaviraj, the author, is saying, the followers of Advaita Acharya were of 2 kinds, real followers and false. So this is very instructive. There may be a religious institution, a spiritual society. Some are real followers, and some are flake, false, fake. This is true in any religion, any religious institution. Everybody has this. I offer my respectful obeisances to the real followers of Advaita Acharya, whose life and soul was Lord Chaitanya. Jaya Jaya Mahaprabhu Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Jaya Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Danya. All glories to Lord Chaitanya, all glories to Nityananda, all glories to Advaita Acharya. All of them are glorious. I offer my respectful obeisances to the all-glorious Advaita Acharya, who forms the 2nd branch of the eternal Chaitanya tree, and to his followers who form his sub-branches. Sri Advaita Prabhu was the 2nd big branch of the tree. There are many sub-branches, but it is impossible to mention them all. Lord Chaitanya was also the gardener of the tree, and as he poured the water of his mercy on his tree, all the branches and sub-branches grew day after day. The fruits of love of God that grew on those branches of the Chaitanya tree were so large that they flooded the entire world with love of Krishna. As the trunk and branches were watered, the branches and sub-branches spread lavishly, and the tree grew full with fruits and flowers. Here it comes, Kakanaji. At first, all the followers of Advaita Acharya shared a single opinion. But later, they followed two different opinions as ordained by providence. Some of the disciples strictly accepted the orders of the Acharya, and others deviated, independently concocting their own opinions under the spell of Daivi Maya. There's the key. But Prabhupada's going to explain. This is Krishnadas Kaviraj. So in the beginning, there's all followers of Advaita Acharya. They had one opinion. But for whatever reasons, they became two opinions. One were actually following the instructions. One, as it says, concocted their own. Now listen to what Krishnadas Kaviraj says. The order of the spiritual master is the active principle in spiritual life. Look at Prabhupada's life. From the very first meeting, what did Bhakti Siddhanta said? Go preach in the English language. Prabhupada's success was that he never forgot that instruction. It was 44 years later that he was actually able to institute it. For 44 years, he was meditating on the order of the spiritual master because he knew this. Prabhupada was in Vrindavan. He could have very easily said, I'm in Vrindavan, let me stay here and relish Rasika Bhav. No. Prabhupada had to execute the order of his guru because that's the active principle in spiritual life. We sang in the beginning, by following the order of the spiritual master, you get the blessings of Krishna. Same thing, Arjuna, he thought by not fighting, that was the right thing to do. But Krishna said, you're wrong. You think not fighting is religious, but in my opinion, that's the wrong, that's sin. Not fighting is sin. I want you to fight. That was Arjuna's dharma, religious principle. He was thinking, oh, it's better to be nonviolent. Same way with Karna. When Krishna offered Karna, join the Pandavas, you will be the leader of the Pandavas, and Draupadi will soon accept you as her husband. Krishna laid it all out for Karna. But no, Karna thought, no, higher principle, I will stay with Duryodhana. Same thing. He thought he was more moral than Krishna. He thought, oh, staying my allegiance to Karna, that's a higher religious principle. He was wrong. That's why killed on the battlefield. So, the order of the spiritual master is the active principle in spiritual life. If I can say in my life what is the order I got from Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada instructed me to love Krishna. I'm trying to do that. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Now Krishnadas Kaviraj says, anyone who disobeys the order of the spiritual master immediately becomes useless. let's go back to the beginning. I asked you, who's the Acharya of this temple? Therefore, we cannot disobey his order. Otherwise, we become useless. Now, let's see what Prabhupada comments, because this is too heavy of a point. No. When Prabhupada's writing, if there's something that needs to be further explained, he puts it in his purport. This verse describes the beginning of a schism. When the disciples do not stick to the principle of accepting the order of the spiritual master, immediately there are two opinions. Different, and any opinion different from the opinion of the spiritual master is useless. Now, this next one is even more very important. One cannot infiltrate materially concocted ideas into spiritual advancement. That is called deviation. There is no scope for adjusting spiritual advancement to material ideas. Here is the opinion of Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj. Persons who strictly follow the orders of the spiritual master are useful in executing the will of the Supreme, whereas persons who deviate from the strict order of the spiritual master are useless. Now, I didn't include it here, but because I only gave a little section. But in this section, Prabhupada said the same thing happened to the movement he joined, the Gaudiya Math. Prabhupada, when he accepted Bhaktisiddhanta, his mission was the Gaudiya Math. Prabhupada writes, you can read it in this section. On his deathbed, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati told his disciples they should form a governing body. He did not name a successor. He did not name an acharya. He said, you should coordinate, because Bhaktisiddhanta's main idea was to preach. So he said, amongst you, you should have a governing body and decide how to push on the institution. But Prabhupada writes, right after Bhaktisiddhanta left, two camps. One person said, I'm the acharya, and another person said, I'm the acharya. Immediately, they disobeyed the order. That's not what he said. That's not what he said. He said, make a governing body. But no, this person thought, I am the most advanced, and another person said, no. And what happened? Court fights. Fighting in the courts. Year after year after year. This is the history. So Prabhupada didn't take sides in any of the factions, because he understood my Guru Maharaj wants there to be worldwide preaching. Prabhupada tried in India to preach. He wasn't getting any cooperation, because whenever he would try, the people would tell him, no, my son, I want him to become an engineer and go to America and make money. Prabhupada could have no success in India because the people in India weren't interested in spiritual life. They were interested in becoming the next America with technology, sexology, and everything else. They weren't interested in Prabhupada's message. So Prabhupada said, I had to go to America. And after Prabhupada got a little bit of success, first thing he did, he instituted a governing body to make sure that what happened in the Gaudiya Math would not happen in his ISKCON. Now, is it perfect? No. Have there been mistakes? Yes. But that governing body is still there, and we judge a tree by its fruits. When Prabhupada left, there was 108 temples. Now there's how many? 400, 500 temples around the world. Success is there. Why? Because regardless of whatever happened, they at least maintained that governing body. Because Prabhupada's, if you read Prabhupada's last will, there are so many items in Prabhupada's last will. Number 1, this is a kicker. What's the first item on his will? The governing body is the ultimate managing authority. Prabhupada also did not name a successor. No. And what did he put as number 1? The governing body is more than 1, 2. I don't know how many there are now, but there's several, whatever there is. How many? All right. That's more than 1. United States might take a clue from there. Maybe they'll get something done. But the point is, this is like Prabhupada's, like we have in America, democracy, checks and balances. So Prabhupada was very intelligent, and his movement is guided by Krishna. So that GBC checks anybody from getting too big for their britches. And we have seen it. This guy wanted to say, you know what, which is true. One big leader said, there should only be 3 regulative principles. GBC said, no. Prabhupada has written 4. You can't change it. It's in the bylaws. It's written all over his books. Then somebody else gave the opinion, you know what? 16 rounds, that's too much. Let's make it 4. GBC said no, because Prabhupada has written more than once, 16 rounds and not 1 Hari Rama less. So the order of the spiritual master is the active principle of spiritual life. Of course, that's if you want spiritual life. Some people don't want spiritual life. But if you want spiritual life, accepting and obeying the order of the spiritual master, that's the key. I gave it to you. I have no more to say. May Krishna bless you and protect you. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. And we're right on time.